Oh, and it appears to be.
Yeah, so now we can tell that it's working before we run the intro. We can do that whole thing where we talk over the beginning of it, and we're just sitting here running our mouths.
Right.
I mean, just hot mic, right?
Oh, but F Mondays. So can they hear us now?
Yeah, they can hear us now. So there's Steve with First Blood, and let's run the intro.
Let's do that.
And we're live. Good morning.
Oh, Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
We don't drink Coke here.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Did you have a good weekend?
I did. I did indeed. I went and had breakfast yesterday with Manders and Scotty. And that was good. Probably ate too much. We went to Sisters up on 212 in Rosebud, or 20 in Rosebud. Freaking awesome.
Nice. I went and
Oh, and Steve, don't mess around with those ear infections, man. It's I mean, these were ballistic infections, but whatever. Take them ears serious, baby.
that's nice. I went and did some sports photography. Man, that is its own world. And the people I was doing the gig for have been nothing but nice the entire time I have worked for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a sample of what happens when you push them too far. And they... You know how, like, in the Navy, when you screw up, like, your punishment is basically public humiliation?
Yes.
Well, that's how they handle things when you screw up with them. I was not the one that... I was not the one that screwed up. Somebody else screwed up. But oh boy, did they use this person as an example. I mean, with, like, specific details.
So what happened?
Basically, the guy shot dozens of photos wrong after being warned multiple times. No, that's not how we like it. Do it the way we like it because we pay you. And there was, like, multiple messages sent out that detailed how they were going to cut this guy's pay. And, oh, yeah, he's fired even after they cut his pay. And, oh, yeah, here's where he screwed this picture up, and here's the example. Here's where he screwed that picture up, and here's the example. And here's how he screwed this picture up, and here's the example.
So what was wrong with the pictures? Was it an exposure problem? Were they soft focus? Were they...
He was shooting on a...
You didn't tell me about this before. I'm interested.
Well, basically...
I was like, I'm going to go shoot a bunch of pictures today.
Well,
they're going to be correct.
Yes. They were shooting on a backdrop, and the backdrop, when shot correctly, you can't really tell that it's a backdrop. It looks like you're shooting... Right. It looks like you're shooting into a crowd of people at a basketball game, and this guy did not shoot it correctly so that it looked... Now, there was the crowd of people in the shot, but not correct at all. And with this particular company, because even a small order, as you take a few dozen photos, it's very important that all of the order forms themselves are numbered in a specific way. That way the office can just kind of plug all the numbers in and get everybody their pictures out in a week or two, instead of having to manually go through and check each individual picture multiple times. Right. And this guy didn't number his order forms. Like, he didn't number them incorrectly. He just didn't number them. Which means the office had to. Which meant something that should take a day or two is going to take them several days. And they're going to have to negotiate with the lab in getting all these pictures corrected. And it was bad, man.
Yeah. It's bad.
It feels bad, man.
I hope that all works out for the company, because docking pay is kind of a sticky wicket. Now, you're fired because you did a bad job? Easy. Docking pay is kind of a sticky wicket. But...
Well, this would be one of those things with this particular company where I've had it happen to me where I did an exceptional job and they just threw an extra $50 on my paycheck.
Nice.
Right? So, you know, you take the good with the bad.
Yeah. And
So,
you don't be the bad.
Yes, you...
Don't be that guy.
Yeah, endeavor to not be the bad. Okay. So, before we get started with the serious stuff, can we do the funsies? Because that one, I gotta go.
Oh, where's my mouse?
Under your thumb?
Okay. Here's the, here, I'll sped it up a little bit. For fuck's sake.
Yes. For something's sake.
Oh, I said the word, didn't I? Anyway, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Johnny of the movies, we don't care who you are. This is what matters. This is the meat.
And yeah. So are you tracking on why this is funny?
I'm not, actually.
Okay. So I shit you not, Joel Osteen's megachurch was having some work done. Plumber comes in. He needs to get behind the wall in one of the bathrooms. And he finds more than $500,000 in cash and checks hidden in the wall.
And checks?
And checks, yes. And unsurprisingly...
Don't hide checks in the wall. Cash them. Hide the cash in the wall. I mean, for real. Okay, so all the other shady aside for just a second, if you hide the checks in the wall, right, presumably the whole point to hiding the cash, the checks in the wall, is to hide them. Presumably for an extended period. Checks expire. There's a point where the check's not good anymore.
Yeah, this check was written in 2019. I'm not cashing it. Sorry. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, not all checks expire, but banks do.
Not only that, but okay. Seriously.
Just real quick, I got some kids screaming upstairs. Let me know in the chat there, guys, if y'all can hear my monkeys hooting on the top of the staircase there. Because damn it.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is funny, haha. But like the church, when Osteen needed to rebuild it years ago, I mean, it cost him like, I forget the exact figure, but I know it was north of $1 million, and it might have been north of $2 or $3 million. And it's like, okay, you paid $1 million to rebuild the church, and then stuck a few $100,000 in the wall? Like,
Alex Bleepin Jones, good morning, sunshine.
Oh, it's good to see you back in the chat, sir. So, I mean, you just have to wonder, like, how shady is the shady on top of the shady? And look, putting aside your personal feelings about Osteen, like, I've gone down the Osteen rabbit hole a couple of times just out of curiosity. And while the Osteens themselves are fairly wealthy, it appears as though their revenue stream comes entirely from his books. Like, he doesn't draw a salary from the church. So it's not like he's getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations a week and then putting part of that in his pocket.
Right.
So why do we need to have shady stuff going on with money in the church?
Well, okay, let's be fair now. Just hiding money in the wall, it only seems shady because the government wants it to seem shady. Let's be fair. It's your money. Do what you want to do with it. Right? And if you have a concern that, I don't know, for example, inflation's going to make the dollar worthless, maybe hiding dollars in the wall isn't the best move, but being concerned that the banking system and the monetary system is hard to trust, especially that the banking system is hard to trust now, is not unreasonable. and
But then you had, like, gold.
choosing to retain your savings yourself rather than stick it with a bank that can't be trusted. There is something there that's fair. Not necessarily. Oh, come on now. Not necessarily the most rational play. I mean, if that's your concern, then yes, something like physical gold or silver or even ammunition, right? So, or art.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's art.
Yeah, you go buy some Hunter Biden paintings.
That was the exact joke I was going to make.
They apparently have great resale value.
I mean, you can trade them out for Parmesan cheese at a premium.
Oh yeah, or automatic weapons for your third world country warlords.
No, I mean, you just throw them in a trash can outside of school. It'll be fine.
Art, man. We're not talking about guns this morning.
Anyhow, just, I mean, I gotta.
And I have eaten smoked Parmesan. It's delicious. I have never eaten Parmesan. Hadn't occurred to me. But apparently, Hunter just doesn't give a shit. He will put whatever shit he can put his hands on in that pipe. Including, apparently, eating Parmesan.
Well, he hasn't eaten it yet. That's why he could put it in the pipe.
Like I said, he'll put any kind of shit he can get his hands on in that pipe.
Okay.
I don't think he would even care if that Parmesan had been smoked previously.
I mean, as long as it came from, some underage girl's foot, I think he'd be okay with it.
And for the record, smoked cheddars and Gouda are superior.
Cheddar
to Parmesan.
I don't know, man. I really like Parmesan. I mean, you get that
umami
blast.
I'm talking about the smoked stuff now though.
Nah, the smoked Gouda on like a really super sweet piece of fruit. So you get like that umami like blanket, but then the pop from.
Yep.
I mean, you need something really sweet, like a pear. Like that's how you get it done.
Yeah, the 30-second pear.
I guess I don't know what a 30-second pear is.
It's in that window between it hasn't gotten ripe enough yet.
Yes, fair enough.
It's a short window.
Okay. So the governor's race in Georgia is going to get spicy, and
now the governor's race in Georgia was already going to be a shit show. Vernon Jones is running as a Republican. Stacy Abrams was going to run again. She's on the ticket officially now,
and that's probably the first time she's run
since she missed it by that much.
No, I was just going to say that's the first time she's run. Yeah. Yes, we are making fun of her physical characteristics. I mean, you make fun of Brian Kemp's drawl, that's fine. And I think that's fair game, honestly.
We at the Brushfire Mind are not racists. That's a huge bitch.
Yeah, we make fun of everybody, including each other.
She fat.
She fluffy.
She fatter than me.
She fluffy, man.
I'm a big boy.
She's like a cloud.
No, she's not.
Okay, but then Sean Hannity, of all people, just had to get involved.
I like Hannity. He makes me laugh. Hannity's analysis and analytics are passable. They're a little surface. They're a little too surface. He's done some great work in the past on a few very specific cases, like the Olympic bomber.
Richard Jewell.
Yeah,
he was basically the only person that was like, whoa, slow down.
Hannity basically saved Richard Jewell's life.
They're like, whoa, slow down. We don't actually have any physical evidence yet that this guy was the bomber.
And I hadn't even thought about bringing that up this morning, but Richard Jewell's a great, like, probably one of the first real cases where the media said, "Hey, we got a white guy here that's not an absolute flag waving leftist progressive, and we're just going to hang him, and we're going to hang him because we want to see white guys hanging."
Yeah, I mean, he's a weirdo who lives with his mom, so he clearly must be.
So clearly that makes him the Unabomber.
Instead of just being maybe socially awkward and a dude that loves his mother. Could just be that. But whatever. Okay, so, do you mind if I read just to give all the...
I do not mind at all.
Context and setup? Okay.
Over here and make sure the mouse is in the right place. There you go.
Thank you. All right.
I'm going to spin that up just a hair.
All right, so we're going with the insider's coverage on this just to give you guys the flavor, as it were.
Real quick, before you start, I just want to... Morning, Eddie James joined us, one of our new subscribers. Good morning. Thanks for popping in this morning.
Okay, so Sean Hannity says Republican Governor Brian Kemp should bow out of the 2022 Georgia gubernatorial race. I'm going to skip the bullet points. Fox News host Sean Hannity on Wednesday called on Republican Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia to nix his 2022 reelection campaign so conservatives can rally behind former Senator David Perdue to face Democratic gubernatorial candidate Stacy Abrams. With Abrams officially in the gubernatorial race, state Republicans quickly launched a stream of attacks against the former minority leader in the Georgia House of Representatives and longtime voting rights activist who narrowly lost the 2018 gubernatorial race to Kemp.
So, a little perspective here. Outside interests in this race have already, since the 2020 election, have already spent nearly $500 million, nearly $500 million, and 480 something dollars on this race. Little perspective. That's more than Donald Trump spent on his entire 2016 campaign.
Just kind of interesting.
And let's not forget that in the talking about Democrats in politics, Barack Obama spent more on his campaign than any candidate in history. Donald Trump spent like 10% of that, and Hillary spent double that.
He spent more than 10%. I think your math's a little off. I think Obama spent about $1 billion. Trump spent about $450 million, so he spent 45% of it. We'll have to go back and check the math.
Go back and look at it, but Trump spent a lot less than Obama, and Clinton spent double what Obama spent and still lost.
However, unlike 2018, Kemp has seen his standing among conservatives deteriorate after months of attacks from former President Donald Trump, who continues to propagate allegations that the incumbent governor didn't stand firm on election integrity in 2020.
Now, real quick here, this is a little bit of a misnomer. It is true that a lot of people are upset with Kemp about what he did or didn't do around the election there. A lot of that comes down to how he didn't do anything with respect to Raffensperger's involvement and some concerns there. But it's also important to note that there's a lot of concern with Kemp now because of his role in the political lynching of the McMichaels brothers. The McMichaels were free and clear, having had more than one prosecutor say in no uncertain terms that the Ahmaud Arbery case was a clear-cut case of self-defense conducted within the context of a perfectly lawful attempted citizen's arrest, which went wrong when Arbery, rather than submitting to the lawful citizen's arrest as a felon in the course of fleeing from the attempt of an arrest of a felon by a citizen with the absolute lawful right to do so, assaulted the McMichaels and armed himself by attempting to take a weapon away. And then Kemp, after the law had spoken on this case, decided to reopen it, deploy the GBI to arrest the McMichaels, and then allowed for prosecutor after prosecutor after prosecutor to be terrorized by BLM activists until they finally found a prosecutor in a jurisdiction on the opposite side of the metropolitan area who happened to be a black woman willing to hang two white guys without cause or evidence.
3.
Well, okay, you're right, 3. That's right. There's the third white guy that got tried, who's been convicted of felony murder for the crime of
filming it,
providing evidence to the case. Alex, that's a false statement.
Look. What we're going to have to do is just go back into our own treatment of the Ahmaud Arbery thing. Like, we see your comment, Alex. I promise we're going to come back to that. Anyhow, due to Kemp's refusal to help Trump overturn President Joe Biden's electoral victory in the state last fall, the governor has become a political pariah among many GOP activists, despite his continued embrace of conservative policies, including the signing into law of a restrictive voting bill earlier this year and a controversial anti-abortion law that was passed last year. On his evening show, Hannity paid less attention to GOP triumphs in the state and more on Kemp's political standing among the party faithful. Kemp has been very ineffective as a governor, and frankly, for the sake of Georgia, I think he should probably bow out of the race, he said. I think the candidate to watch, and I hope he gets in, is former Senator David Perdue. He would be a much better candidate versus Stacy Abrams. He continued, if Kemp does stay in, that would also hurt Herschel Walker in his Senate race against Raphael Warnock. Kemp is not particularly well liked. I don't think he'd be a good at the top of the ticket person for the Republicans. Okay. Not going to go any further because I think that's the real meat and potatoes of it. And I've really thought about this, and I think Hannity's I think he's wrong. I mean, I think he's flat wrong. To say that Kemp has been an ineffective governor is just not factual. You can disagree with some of the decisions that he's made, but to say that he's been ineffective, and the article even has to acknowledge that he has embraced conservative policies over and over again, and he has. And part of the point that I would make is if you took Brian Kemp's record and you took the names and faces out of it and you just looked at the record, you'd say, gosh, I agree with 95% of what this guy did. This is the kind of person I want to be governor of this state. Now, taking things in context is perfectly fair, but ineffective, like he was the first guy to go on national TV and say, this is bullshit. I'm going to reopen my state. I'm going to do it slowly and carefully, but I'm going to trust the citizens of my state to be mature adults that recognize they need to balance the fact that there's a pandemic, but, we can't go bankrupt. Like, that doesn't do us any good. And he was correct. And you want to talk about gambling everything. If he'd been wrong, he'd already be out as governor.
Yeah.
But he was not wrong. He was right. So to say he's ineffective, no, I'm sorry, Hannity. This is one of those rare instances
Alex
where
is right about that.
Okay. But even that, like he had his own floor leaders walk off the floor for the heartbeat bill. Abortion in and of itself is one of those things where everybody says it's controversial, but it's really not, at least not in the way that the media would have you believe that it is. Like, you either believe life begins on day one or you don't. You either believe that the state has a role in helping to fund abortion or you don't. You either believe that this is one of those issues that the Founding Fathers had enough sense to realize would be deeply controversial, and so we're going to have separate sovereign states that can have laws that change from state to state. You think abortion is justified, move to an area that as abortion. You think abortion is evil, move to an area that restricts abortion. You either believe those things or you don't. It's not terribly controversial, even if you disagree over the basic premise behind it. So, I think I understand that Kemp was already going to have some problems, okay? But I think at the end of the day, Kemp was going to be able to do a thing where he just point to his record. So even if you don't like everything I did, I promised that I would do like, just as an example, he promised he would get teachers raises, and he did. And I'm not saying that public teachers are the greatest thing. Hold on. I'm not saying that public teachers are the greatest thing since sliced bread, because they're not. But he promised he would do it, and he got it done. So to say that he is ineffective is just not correct. And you reach a certain point where the loss in 2020, well, that sucks a lot. But how much do you want it to contaminate 2022 and 2024?
Right, and that's a very fair question. And so I think, honestly, Kemp's greatest vulnerability going into 2022 at this point is that there are so many candidates running. You've got Kemp.
And now you have David Perdue.
Kemp, Vernon Jones, David Perdue, and what's-her-face that nobody knows.
That's why she's a non-entity. She's what's-her-face that nobody knows.
She's not a total non-entity. People will vote for her. Not a lot of people. But if it's enough people to pull any one of the other three down from the 51 or 52%, if it could pull any given one of them. And Alex got another good point there. Sure, he got teachers' raises. They're not going to vote for him. They're all giving their money to the DNC.
Oh, Alex,
so that's that. And real quick on that same point, every dollar that Kemp got in raises for the teachers, that's like the cash for work thing we did in Afghanistan. You're just handing tax money to the enemy. You're paying the enemy to destroy you.
I'm not saying that he's suddenly going to have a majority of teachers vote for him. I am saying that Kemp's campaign ads that are going to start dropping in January are going to say, I promised A, I got you A. I promised B, I got you B. I promised C, I got you C. Okay? Part of the reason why Kemp's numbers are in the toilet is I think a lot of us on our side, frankly, need to put on our big boy britches and realize there's not a whole lot of good options here. What happened in 2020 sucked. It did. But we can always make it worse with 2022. For example, we had those runoffs, and those runoffs in particular really tie back into all this, okay? David Perdue in these runoffs couldn't even beat John Ossoff, a man that Karen Handel did beat. And there's a lot of things about Karen Handel I really love. I wish she had been the governor when she ran for governor about a decade ago, and she didn't win the primary. But Karen Handel does not have the certain je ne sais quoi, as it were. She's not the most, I'm going to say this the right way, telephoto candidate. She's not slick and polished. But she is true blue for the cause. She beat John Ossoff. David Perdue lost to John Ossoff, and now we're stuck with that slick talking shitbag for at least 5 more years.
No, that's what foreign interference will get you.
Yeah, but he's the guy that can beat Stacy Abrams? I don't know that And why can he not beat Stacy Abrams? Well, because a bunch of conservatives were pissed and didn't go vote. If the same number of people that had turned out to vote for Donald Trump had turned out and voted in the special election, we wouldn't have 2 fucking Democrat senators in the state of Georgia.
Correct.
Okay? And so we can whine and we can bitch and we can talk about what a shithead Brian Kemp is. And we can have Stacey Abrams for governor as a result. And this is not a knock on Vernon Jones, okay? Because I'll give Vernon credit. He got in and decided to primary Brian Kemp before primarying Brian Kemp was the cool thing to do, okay? I'll give him credit where it's due. But that's
Vernon burned his mouth on his coffee in the morning.
But.
I wonder what Vernon would say if we called him a hipster to his face.
He'd probably laugh about it.
I'm sure he would.
That he seems to be able to just roll with anything. So, here's the thing, though, okay? It's already going to be bad enough because Vernon is going to attack Brian Kemp, and he does have a certain amount of the conservative faithful that are in his camp. And then Brian Kemp is going to attack Vernon, and there are things that you can attack Vernon on, like, oh yeah, you're rather conveniently a Republican now that you're done being the CEO of DeKalb County, one of the most Democrat areas in the state. Boy, that's convenient. And it's already going to be bloody enough, and now we're going to have David Perdue come into the mix, and the local media, when they talk about Brian Kemp being primaried, they don't talk about Vernon Jones, or what's-her-face, that we can't remember her name. They're already talking about David Perdue, which means we're going to have this three-way, four-way battle where our side is going to tear each other down and demoralize our side. Then the election itself is going to roll around. I don't believe that Georgia has become a blue state. I don't. I think there were enough of us that were depressed and didn't go vote, and that's how we end up with Warnock and Ossoff. So I think Hannity has screwed up.
And don't forget, in that primary too, we had the whole thing with the two slick lawyers, the two slick lawyers that came out and
that said you're talking about
don't boycott that vote.
Linwood
Sidney Powell and Linwood.
Yeah, there you go.
And they came out and convinced a bunch of Georgia Republicans that they needed to boycott the vote because of the opinions of the 2020 outcome. And that, I mean, how much more obvious a black propaganda campaign can you ask for?
Don't vote. That's how you win. Don't vote. No, that's how you lose.
Yeah,
you might
that's
still
exactly
lose
how
if
you
you
don't
vote.
win.
But, you kind of miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, like, I don't play the lottery. You know what else I don't do?
What?
Win the lottery.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen.
Yes.
So, all right.
Well, look,
I've got to put a pin in it there because I need to get out the door pretty shortly.
Well, let me just hammer this. I realize I might be in the extreme minority here, but everybody, all of us, 99 times out of 100, we would take a candidate like Brian Kemp, and we would go to the mat for him. He's not perfect, but he is head and shoulders above so many of the others. When you look at his record and you look at the fact that he is provably, on paper, largely conservative, if you take his record and you put all that into consideration, and he's the incumbent, he should coast to victory. He shouldn't even have to campaign.
No, I don't think he's got a chance.
I'm not saying that he's got a chance. That's kind of the point. Let's stop blackpilling Brian Kemp. He's actually a fairly good governor. We could do a hell of a lot worse, and we're gonna. Why? Because guys like us keep saying, well, he doesn't have a chance. Well, no shit, he doesn't have a chance. That's called a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, he's not a great governor.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
By any measure, he is.
The only thing you've got, I do have to put a pin in it because I have a contract that I have to go to. So we've got a year till the election. We're gonna have this conversation again. So yeah.
Okay, fine. Round 2 incoming.
See y'all tomorrow.